Viewers, for 6 days now, the world has watched in stunned horror the brutality of Hamas. Remember, the worst of the massacres they orchestrated was perhaps on the Supernova Music Festival. Till dawn, the party revelers were dancing at this fest for unity and peace when fire rained on them from skies. Watch how hang gliders were used by the terrorists to glide into the festival. And then, what unfolded was sheer terror. The background, unaware of the bloodbath the future holds for them. Minutes later, these terrorists opened fire. That was the beginning of the mindless massacre unleashed on innocent people. We now get you a heart-wrenching phone call between a daughter who was stranded at this festival and her father and mother. She was at the music festival when the terrorist snooped down and started firing indiscriminately. Listen to this conversation to understand Hamas brutality.
מתים, תשלח משטרה לפה.
אני שולח, מתים?
אבא, בבקשה, תשלח משטרה לפה, נכון.
אני שולח עכשיו, ממי, תהי רגועה, תשארי איתי על הקו, אל תנתקי ממני את הקו, טוב? תהי בשקט. תהי בשקט, ממי, תהי מחוצה, יובלי, בת שלי. יובלי, לנשום עמוק, להתחבא, להיות פני נטע, פצועים בחוץ, תסבירי לי את המצב.
יש מתים עליי.
רגע, ויש שם מחבלים עדיין?
מסתובבים, אבא, תשלחו לדעות.
תהי מתה, יובלי, תהי מתה, תנתקי את הטלפון ממני, תהי מתה.
ביי. אם את יכולה להודיע למשפחה שלי שאני עדיין חיה ואני אוהבת אותם עד אין סוף. אמא, אני רוצה להישאר בחיים. בבקשה, שיבואו כבר.
Another video shows people trying to flee the massacre at Supernova, but the dashcam footage shows terrorists blocking the road, ambushing the car and then opening fire. Multiple rounds of fire riddle the car and its occupants with bullets. Finally, the car slows down and crashes into another. Noah Argamani was one of the women forcibly abducted from the fest. Watch this chilling video where she pleads with the terrorist to spare her.
About 10 minutes after we started dancing and everything was perfect and I was happy, surrounded by people I love, I started seeing things in the sky, just hearing bombs and not understanding what's happening around. And I started panicking. I told my boyfriend what's going on. Like the sky and everything and rockets, and just everyone started panicking. I couldn't see clearly, so I can know if they're people from the party or terrorists, or I couldn't understand what's happening. So we were just hearing the noises and trying to activate and decide what to do according to what we hear.
This was a survivor testimony. We are now joined by someone who was at that festival, another survivor, Yoni Kedar, if I'm getting your name right. Yoni, thank you for speaking to Times Now. I'm sorry for what you went through. But I know it will be brutal to ask you to recount what happened, but you will have to do this so that people understand what Hamas is all about.
Yes. So one of my recollections is really driving my car with two of my friends, and actually we were 8 at some point in the car. We drove with the doors open in order for anyone to be able to join us in the car and flee for their lives. I remember seeing on the hill after us so many people running barefoot, running by foot for their lives. All around us was gunshots, and the missiles continued all the time. They never stopped for hours. And we were just, I was just driving the car, and I'd never look back. I couldn't bear to look back and see who was after us, but the bullets were around us all the time. We gathered another 4 or 5 people. We were 8 people in the car at some point, 5 people extra, that children, really. I'm 42 years old, but they are 25-year-old children that saw all their friends die around them while they were running for their lives. They all were gunned down. And I was just looking forward, looking at the road. It was in the fields. It was all full of dust. I couldn't see more than 5 meters in front of us. I was just driving just to get anywhere away from where we were. And the kids behind were just screaming and crying and panting and screaming, go now. And I was fairly calm and collected, but at some point, I don't know how long it took, but we got to a road off the fields, and we got to one of the kibbutz, and one of the girls said, let's stop and go into the kibbutz. They'll save us. They'll give us shelter. And I was like, there's no way. No one is going to open their doors right now. They're all in shelters themselves. All the while, I didn't even know. We weren't aware of what's going on in the kibbutz, all the massacres that were there. And then an angel, someone that we consider an angel now, who stopped next to us. He came out of nowhere. He was a soldier in his own car, and his tires were shot, so he couldn't drive. But he told us, go to the military base. It's not far away. And he told us to which military base to go, because, again, we didn't know that at this point different military bases were infiltrated. So we were able to get to one of the military bases very near there, and we were just saved. That we were there for hours, but different people came in from different locations. A couple came in. Their legs were totally bleeding and shot with. Apparently, they were in a betonada in a shelter next to the road. And a Hamas soldier came in and just threw in a grenade into that shelter and blew everyone up, and they were the only one that survived. But they couldn't walk. They couldn't. There was blood everywhere. The soldiers, our soldiers, IDF soldiers in the base, took care of us. They protected us. They gave us food and water, and the paramedic took care of the wounded. But we were there for hours and not really knowing what we went through. Only that evening did I realize what happened, what we were part of, and what we were saved from. I can't even imagine. I myself have children. My friends have children, those that were with me. All the while, I just couldn't, I was sure I didn't give any opportunity for a thought of not coming home to my children. The thought didn't pass my mind. I knew I would be home. And I think that's what saved me. That's right. What saved us.
Now, Yonit, the footage has gone viral. The footage is actually too graphic, and I don't want to describe in detail because you look traumatized, and obviously so. But what I want to know from you is that when these terrorists in gliders snooped down on the festival, did they open fire after they touched ground, or they started firing while they were in the air?
So I didn't see those terrorists coming from the sky. They came by foot. The ones that I saw came by. Maybe before that they did come by from the air. I don't know. I never saw the gliders. I just saw the terrorists themselves on the ground already shooting at everyone around us. Perhaps they did come. They came from everywhere, because now I understand that those are friends that remained in the party area. We were one of the first to leave the parking area, and some of our friends stayed behind because they thought that it would be a big traffic jam and they might as well wait until everyone got out. and that ended up being a fatal mistake because apparently there was a large team of terrorists coming in from the party. Apparently they were aware of the party. I don't know. I'm sure that they knew. I'm sure they knew. We were like a jackpot of thousands of innocent people just waiting. I can't even understand how they did all the things that they did.
And they don't, and you know, Yoni, they didn't stop at this, because the details now emerging suggest that Hamas terrorists beheaded babies. Can you believe it? The worst fears have come true. The Israeli Defense Forces have confirmed. Yoni, just stay on with us. Babies were butchered in the most brutal way, beheaded mercilessly. Little ones defenseless, not even grown up enough to walk, being slain in most cold-blooded manner.
And we got very, very disturbing reports of that came from the ground that there were babies that had been beheaded. And I admit it took us some time to really understand and to verify that report. And it was hard to believe that even Hamas could perform such a barbaric act. But after eyewitnesses came forward and after a senior official in the Israeli coronary service, Zaka, came forward on record on CBS News and said, yes, I saw the bodies of beheaded babies, I think we can now say with relative confidence that this is unfortunately what happened in Be'eri. This is what Hamas did to Israeli civilians.
For anyone in any doubt, this is what Hamas did. IDF has now confirmed this. Now joining us, Rami Desai, author, political analyst, Eli Rettich, assistant professor, Department of Political Studies. Now, Yonit, before I let you go, what do you make of this disclosure? Were you aware of this? The Hamas terrorists beheaded babies?
I was informed of it, even if it could be a worse horror. I understood that one of the women there in Be'eri was pregnant with a child, and they found her with her fetus outside of her stomach while the umbilical cord was still attached, and they killed her, they killed her fetus, and of course also her child, the older child, which was alive. They killed everyone in the most horrible way. How I can't even imagine how this is inhuman. It's inhuman. How can a living being do such a thing? And you need to understand, it's not only against Jews. They do this to everyone. To everyone. No one is safe with this. This is ISIS, and you need to understand it. They're allowing themselves to do this to us, but it's just a matter of time. They're everywhere, and they will do this to everyone. Sorry. It's
Rami
horrifying.
Desai, I don't even know where to begin, because you know, there is an ecosystem that has trivialized this terror attack, this butchery by Hamas. Some called it incursion, the other said this is all propaganda.
No, it's not propaganda. It's just the way they think. This is inhuman.
It is absolutely, I don't have words. I really don't have words, you know, to explain this, you know. I don't think any human being has gone to the extent of this sort of heinous and horrific sort of crimes against humanity. And, you know, what's worse is, okay, this is Hamas, you know, I mean, I didn't even expect this out of them, you know, terrorist organization and all of that. But, you know, what's worse is that there are people who are doubting the of crimes. There are people who are doing whataboutery, people who are, you know, politicking and doing it for their vote banks. Even in this country, I have not even seen protests come out against this sort of barbaric act in any country, you know, as at the level that I would expect it to. So I don't understand what sort of moral bankruptcy are we facing. You know, this has shaken up everybody across the world. But except the people who think that, you know, at this point it makes some sense to intellectualize this, you know, wherein they're saying that, oh, you know, Israel had done this or so and so had done this. I mean, no matter who has done what sort of people, you know, think it's justifiable to behead babies or to attack, you know, a festival of unarmed women or to rape women? What sort of men are these? You know, it makes my blood boil. Yesterday, I was in a debate, Pranesh, on your channel as well, and there were 3 men who were talking about foreign policy and talking about the limitations and bad foreign policies and the misunderstanding of foreign policies. Do you think that is any sort of justification for what we are seeing? And, you know, I'll tell you something, Pranesh, you know, taking these people out who are the perpetrators of such crime is not good enough. These kind of people should be brought to justice in the most torturous, in the slowest fashion. And I want to see that.
Desai, this is not about a set of people or a group or an organization. This is an ideology, a mindset that needs to be wiped out. How do you do that? That's the challenge before us.
Pranesh,
we must, at the very least, start by first acknowledging the problem.
I stand by you, Pranesh. That's very well put. You know, when we saw the Harvard Association, students associations, you know, supporting Palestine, you know, remember, we've all seen these posters where there is, it's called resistance. I really wondered, what is the kind of leadership that we are creating for this world that is so morally bankrupt, that is so, you know, just completely like has absolutely no idea or can draw a line between resistance and terror. I think we should be very worried. And like Yonit said, you know, and said it so bravely, this is not about an attack on Israel. This is what is going to come for all of us, and which is the danger when we indulge in whataboutery that we don't realize that
tomorrow it'll be us. We have to end the denial. Yonit, I want you to say that again. For those who missed it the first time, that you saw the Hamas butchery in front of your eyes. They pulled out, they shot dead a pregnant woman, pulled out the fetus. Say what you saw.
It's just, you need to understand that the way that they educate their children, it comes from such an early age of so much brainwashing of every human being that is not Islam, that is not jihad. They're not human in their eyes. They're just not human. When a child is growing up with this in their mind, he becomes an adult and he sees no difference between a human and, I don't want to say an animal, because even animals deserve more than this. You need to understand, it's not against Jews. There are tons of civilians from different countries, from the U.S., from China, from I don't know, the list is so long of people that are butchered, that have been butchered or taken away as hostage to Gaza.
Absolutely, this was nationality, it was no bar when it came to unleashing terror. Absolutely.
Everyone.
Eli, what would you say?
It's so hard to listen to, Yonit. You know, a lot of these photos that you're showing from the festival, they don't even show it to us in Israel. A lot of it comes from foreign press because it's too hard for Israelis to watch these things. And I hope people understand, analysts that say that this massacre is a result of the blockade, to understand that the blockade is because of these type of massacres, is because there's no negotiating with Hamas. Hamas doesn't just murder Jews, it also murders its own people. It uses its people as human shields. It doesn't have any regard for human life. People make the mistake to talk about Hamas as part of the Palestinian cause. Hamas is not a separatist organization. It's not fighting for a two-state solution. Hamas is against a two-state solution. It wants a Palestine instead of Israel. And it wants to create a very radical, religious extremist version of Palestine. It's an enemy to its own people. And so there's no negotiating with a group like this.
Well said.
The problem is
its own people, and facts bear that truth, because Gazans are now used as human shields by the Hamas terrorist. We are a little short of time. I have to thank all of you. Yonit, you spoke very well. Thank you for narrating, and even if it meant reliving those things once again, but thank you for saying things as they happened and what you saw. Ms. Desai, and thank you for the perspective, for exposing the ecosystem. Harry, thanks for joining us. Viewers, that's the truth. This is what Hamas has done.